We're going to be talking about the 3 things you need to know about databases for your no-code project. Number 1, what is a database? Number 2, how do rows and columns work? Number 3, what are relations? And at the end, I'm going to be showing you how this applies to all of your no-code projects. A database is a structure that holds all of your information. This is important because this allows your app to be smart. Without having a database and a structure to all of that data, it's not going to make any sense, and you're going to have a bunch of errors, or you're not going to be able to perform advanced actions without setting this up properly. Let's talk about rows and columns. You've seen this if you have used Excel or Google Sheets. It just looks like a normal spreadsheet. Now, what makes this important are a couple different factors. Number 1, the columns. The columns run vertically, right? So we have different columns going across. The rows we have horizontally. The columns can house different types of information. The rows contain information associated with the column. Let's go through an example. Perhaps you're thinking about a dog or a cat, and the different cells, those are individual cats or dogs. There's a great explanation about columns and rows found in the SQL Bolt course, where it's teaching you about databases. They mention the explanation for rows. Each individual dog can be a row. Each row can be compared to a book. The columns explanation would represent common properties associated with the dog. For example, one column can be the color of fur, the next will be the length of tail, etc. So each column can be compared to a different shelf of books. This is really beneficial no matter what kind of app platform you're using. If you're using AppGyver, Adalo, Glide, it's really important to know how you're going to be structuring that data, no matter how they have their workflow for you to set up that database, etc. For example, if you look at AppGyver, if you look at the documents here, this is talking about how to configure the data resources. It goes through first setting up the new data resources, making sure that you're setting the variables, how you're going to be collecting the data, how you're triggering to put the data inside the database. All of those different things are found in the documents for AppGyver. And if you go into the learning modules and number 5, it goes down the list of creating data, listing data, show single data record, updating records, and using REST API to list data. A REST API has to do with 2 different systems talking to each other. We actually have a link down below somewhere where we talk about API for beginners. But this is the workflow for AppGyver. If you're using something like Glide, they're going to be using Google Sheets or Glide tables to do this. So when you're inside their database, you're going to be brought to something that looks very familiar to any kind of spreadsheet. It's pretty much all structured the same way once you understand how it interacts together. Also to note, another thing that I really like about Glide, when you're using certain buttons, you can have a workflow right here where it says add new action, and now you can create a workflow based on the different action that you want for that button. You can be adding rows, you can be changing the database in just a few clicks. It does a lot of the hard work for you. AppGyver does allow you to do something very similar, but keep in mind, you're going to be starting from scratch. You're going to be needing to watch the videos to begin. It will take about 3 to 5 minutes to watch the videos, test it out, and then go from there. If we go to something like Adalo, where they already have the database set up for you, especially if you use one of their templates, they already have all of those things set. Same thing as Glide. What I would say is if you look at the Adalo resources and how they explain relationships, those are really good examples how you can create the database that you want for your project, for your platform. And that leads us into number 3. What are relations? Relations have to do with how the database interacts with each other. For example, if you have a one-to-one relationship versus a one-to-many relationship. A one-to-one relationship have to do with like if one thing matches another. For example, this type of lightsaber is associated with a certain type of Jedi or Sith. Red lightsaber, we know it's going to be a Sith. this lightsaber has to do with Darth Vader. This lightsaber has to do with Darth Sidious. This lightsaber has to do with Darth Maul. Now, if you go to, and another thing, 1-to-1, a Sith, yeah, and a Jedi too. They can only be a master and an apprentice. I mean, I don't know if we're going to keep this in the video, but but if you go to 1-to-many, that has to do with something like a teacher can have many students, or a parent can have multiple children. You need to know what kind of relationship the database will have in order to scale what you're looking to do. And if you look at the relationships in the Adalo resources, I really like how they give examples of different types of businesses or types of data that can help you think about this form. I know for me, this was a really hard concept. I wasn't good with databases for a long time. I'm really not that good right now, but this allowed me to start thinking about what kind of database I need to map out for my projects. Remember, above all other things, pick a platform that works for you. Perhaps you might have to pick a platform first so they build the database for you, such as like Adalo or Glide, for you to understand the relationship. And then you can move into different databases like AppGyver or using Bubble, where you're structuring the database where you can have more control and you're doing it from scratch. Let me know where you are in your project or your app design. I'll see you in the next video.